Sleep. It has been at the forefront of the general discussion for several years now. I'd say since 2020, since we were able to get some sleep back thanks to the pandemic. Sleep is such an important aspect of our lives, and I'm very glad that it's been discussed and it's been in the attention of the general public. But there is one area, there's one sphere in which sleep was not really talked about much, at least until now. And this is language learning. That happens to be the sphere I specialize in, or I want to specialize in. And in this video, I will talk about how sleep can make or break your learning of a language, of a foreign language, and how crucial it is to get good sleep. How does good sleep look like? We're going to go over the different stages and different cycles of sleep. And we will also look at how we can optimize what we do during the day to learn better during the night. So without further ado, let's get started. So we don't actually know why we sleep. That's the funny thing. We might have some needs, but we don't really know what the purpose of sleep is. There is no wakefulness state that resembles every stage of sleep, or let's put it this way. If we don't sleep, we die. And we know that sleep is something that pretty much every species experiences. And there are some animals that have a similar sleep structure as we do. And talking about sleep structure, let's describe what a typical night's sleep looks like. So, a typical night's sleep looks like 4 to 6 cycles of 4 stages of sleep, or I'd say the first stage is only for the first cycle, and there's like three sleep states that your brain and body are in that just cycle over the night, and we're going to talk about those. So like I said, stage 1 is just to fall asleep, right? So you get into your bed, you get in under your blanket covers, you get comfortable, all toasty, and you close your eyes. So the first few minutes or first few dozens of minutes, depending on the person, will be stage 1 of sleep, right? So you're kind of conscious, but you're not unconscious yet. Stage number 2, now things start to get interesting. That's basically when you will convert short-term memory that is stored in your hippocampus, in your brain. It literally looks like a hippocampus. Just look it up or put an image here. It will send or read what's on the hippocampus, your brain, and put it in your cortex into more sustained and more longer-term memory. Earlier the night is going to be more dominant. So when you go to sleep, you spend your first cycle just like understanding and internalizing the procedural things that you learn, the skills you learn during the day, all of that. Then comes the second stage of sleep, or third stage, sorry, and it is called slow wave sleep. So that slow wave sleep is very important to restore your cognitive and physiological functions. So your body repairs itself. You produce a lot of growth hormones. Your brain cleans itself from the residues of the day, from the metabolical waste of the day. Basically, all the brain cells will like expand and contract at the same time. It's actually pretty beautiful, and all of the liquids, all of the waste just get like drained. And then comes in REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. I think you've heard about this. It also has the name paradoxical sleep. And this is a part of the night, or the part of the sleep cycle, where your brain is highly active. Almost every part of your brain is active. And what differentiates REM sleep from normal wakefulness is that your body just doesn't move, right? You're all paralyzed. But during REM sleep, you're experiencing a lot of emotions, a lot of things. Your brain is really active, and it's thought to be kind of an auto night therapy. So like autotherapy at night, maybe it's a better way to say it. Your brain will process the emotions that it's been having during the day or during the previous days. And that's one cycle. So like I said, we go through 4 to 6 every night. Not all cycles are created equal. The first cycle in the night is more stage 2 intensive. So basically your brain will focus more on remembering what it encountered during the day, deleting a lot of the information, of the unuseful bullshit. We sense a lot of information, of sensory information that we don't need, right? That cat you saw earlier in the day, or that car ride that was the same as every other car ride you've been on. Anything that is not relevant, your brain will discard. During the second and third cycles, it will be more slow wave sleep intensive. So it will be more restful for you, and you will regenerate yourself more during those cycles. It's also the cycles during which you're the most creative. So during slow wave sleep, your brain still functions, right? It cleans itself, but it still functions, and it tries to find some ideas and find some information that will be compatible with other information it already knew. Okay, so it tries to make sense of stuff on a very intellectual and rational, I would say, level. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've been reading in the literature. Cycle 4 or later, it will be more REM sleep intensive. So you will be processing your emotions more. That's basically the sleep architecture in a nutshell. Now that we are all up to date, we can take a look at language learning and how a good night of sleep is going to influence your performance and your acquiring the next day. Because let's just all agree to that. Language learning is about performing. So that's when you use what you already know. That's when you try your best to say something that makes sense, to say it well, to say it as much as a native would say it. And there's also acquiring. So acquiring is when you encounter something you don't know or you don't fully grasp yet, and you understand it more. That's acquiring. So after a good night's sleep, your brain is rested. Like I said, there's a lot of cleaning involved in sleeping. So your whole body cleans itself, but your brain just restores its function so that it can be performing well the next day. So cognitively speaking, you'll be sharp, right? Your mind will be sharp. You'll be able to get into higher levels of focus and alertness, and that's what we want when we learn language, because it's very intensive. But there's something that not many people consider while talking about language learning, and it is the emotional load of language learning. It's crazy how much emotions how many different emotions, and how big of an emotional load language learning is. When you learn a language, you're in contact with a culture that you don't fully know yet, that you don't fully understand. So communication is not easy because, well, culture-wise and also word-wise, right? And there's also the body language that changes. So many things that can bring up so many different emotions, ranging from being super happy and ranging from being surprised or sad, disappointed, deceived, all of this. So it's very highly emotional task. Being well rested will help you bear with that and will help you make sense of what the people say and how they act around you. It's not all about words. There's also a lot of body language, a lot of information found into the intonation, and from language to language, it changes a lot. So being well rested will help you to read the room better, understand what subjects are more or less touchy. The part that helps you do that is the medial prefrontal cortex, among other regions, but that's the one I focus my research on, my personal research. No, I didn't do any research. I'm not a professor. I am just someone that is way too obsessed about language learning. But basically what I found was that the medial prefrontal cortex helps you analyze the situation, helps you take in some contextual cues. So it can be like the setting, the social setting you're in, any action, anything that takes place. It takes all of that and it helps you decide what is the best way to behave in that situation. So it will help you decide if you should laugh at a situation or if you should be serious, if you should be sad, if you should help, all of this. So being well rested and having this medial prefrontal cortex well rested, happy, and performance will really help you being, I'd say, culturally adapted, and also integrating more of the culture. And not to mention too, there's a physical component to language learning too, right? So language learning requires, or actually performing when you speak a foreign language that you haven't yet mastered, requires a lot of fine motor skills. It requires you to control your mouth, your lips, your throat, your diaphragm in a very specific way, and this is also draining. It requires you to be at least somewhat performant, right? Somewhat sharp. You can't do that like let's say upon waking up. If you have tried this, speaking a language that you haven't mastered yet is really complicated. Your mouth just feels like, I don't know, still asleep, and it's hard to articulate properly. So that's after a good day of language learning, after a good day of being around people, trying to speak, acquiring, performing, all of that, you will be drained. That's for sure. It's so exhausting. I think you all can relate to that if you've learned a language before. So hopefully you'll go to sleep and you will have a second night's good night of sleep, okay? And during that night, wonders will happen. So during the first part of the night, your brain will read the hippocampus. It will take everything as it is, put it in the cortex. Then comes the second stage of sleep, or later in the night, you will experience this more, slow wave sleep. During slow wave sleep, it will try to maybe make sense of what you said from a factual and intellectual standpoint. So maybe you learned a word that shares a similar root to another word that you already knew. And that's when your brain will try to compare everything, try to find similarities. And that's when you'll be creative. Maybe you will come up with new ways of seeing things, and you'll have to try them out the next day or the days after. And then comes REM sleep. During REM sleep, you will process every emotion that you felt. Maybe you said something during the day and it felt off. People didn't really understand what you said that. And maybe you said something that was culturally inappropriate or culturally just not understood. Some ideas are really not understood from culture to culture. It varies a lot. So during that time, your brain will process everything. And when you wake up, you will feel rested, and you will also feel like you are a better speaker. Your pronunciation will be easier, better, and you will remember more words, all of this. But this is kind of a caricature because it doesn't take just one night. This is such a complex process. It takes several nights. Actually, some research shows that it takes 7 nights. It takes a week for everything to settle in your mind, especially when emotionally speaking, right? So there's an effect called the dream lag effect that is thought to really impact REM sleep. We're not so sure about non-REM sleep, so non-rapid eye movement sleep. That will be stage 1 to 3. We're not sure about those, but what we know is that the content of one day is dreamt about during night 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 6 or 7, even more sometimes if it's more emotionally heavy. And there was also some research that in 2015 that found out that during night 3 and 4, the dream won't represent as accurately what happened during day 1. So what we can get from this is that maybe we should wait a week before being able to, it takes a week before being able to really grasp a concept, especially if it has somewhat of an emotional component to it. Maybe 3 or 4 days later, we won't actually really know, even though we thought we would know. I think that's an interesting effect. I think we should keep that in mind. Okay, but that's when you have good sleep. So it shows that it helps with undergoing all the discomfort that language learning can bring, and also it will bring you more joy as you will be in a better mood. I think you can't deny that. You had the chance to process all of the negative emotions you felt before, and you had the chance to rest, and overall your endocrine system works better, right? Everything is more fluid in your body. Everything works. But what if you don't sleep enough? What if you have insomnia? What if you just go out late and don't sleep much? What happens? Well, the day after that, you won't be in such a good mood, right? That's no surprise to anyone. But where it will be problematic is in your decision making. So your medial prefrontal cortex, or the prefrontal cortex in general, helps with decision making, right? That's where you will kind of weigh every option, see if one is better than the other and everything. And when you're not really rested, your emotions can kind of interfere a little bit. And that's when you will take the wrong decisions. So let's say you are somewhere outside in public or at a party, who cares? You're somewhere around people and you hear someone or two people speak the language that you're learning. Now you have a choice to make. Are you going up to them, introducing yourself so that you could have a bit of a practice, maybe meet some friends that speak that language, or are you just ignoring that and continuing on with your day or your night? There is an option that is easier than the other, and that's the one you're likely to take or to choose if you're not well rested. And that's not good, because we want as much of we want to practice as much as possible and want to give people a chance, right? Those people might become some really good friends, and you might that might like compound in your language learning. And there's also choices you have to make when, I don't know, you're speaking and you want to say something. There's a way that you know how to say it for sure. You're certain about one way of saying it. And there's another way that you haven't experimented well enough with, that you haven't well mastered yet. And which one are you choosing? Are you choosing the easy one or the harder one? All of that. There's main challenges that will come up to you, and being well rested helps picking the harder one, because you will be in a better position to discard the negative and see where it can bring you, see what it can bring you. And there's also something that can happen if you're not well rested. It's that emotionally speaking, you won't be as functioning, so you won't be as culturally sensitive, like I described when we talked about the scenario where you are well rested. If you lack sleep, you're not going to be as empathetic. And it turns out that being empathetic is very important to understand the culture, see how the culture works, and adapt yourself to it, right? Adopt the right behavior, not to be rude, not to be insensitive. And yeah, being empathetic requires a lot of energy, right? If you've been around someone that suffers for a long time, or if you've felt empathy on a high intensity, you feel it, right? You felt it. It's very draining. It's very exhausting. And if you cannot be empathetic, like I said, you won't be as sensitive. You won't understand the culture better, and you'll be more easily irritated too. And that's not something we want. We want to avoid those states of mind, as they don't help with the learning at all. So, because you won't take the best decision and you will take decisions a bit more emotionally, you are not likely to go to bed early or go to bed at your normal bedtime that same night. You're likely to keep doing what you did that brought you up, that brought you to be sleep deprived, and you're likely to watch a Netflix show instead of going to bed, all of that. So the sad part is that you're likely to enter a vicious circle where you don't sleep enough. And that's something you need to be, I think, you need to be aware that your decision making is shit when you're sleep deprived, and that you should discipline yourself and go adopt the right habit to fall asleep at the right time and to get a good night's sleep. And we'll talk about this in just a second. So that's a good transition to what you should do and what habits you should adopt in order to optimize your sleep for learning. Let's talk about substances first. So there are substances that will mess up with your sleep, right? You know a few of them. You've heard about coffee messing up with your sleep, I hope. Alcohol, THC, nicotine. Basically any psychoactive substance, even though alcohol is not, neither is THC, but coffee or psychoactive substances like nicotine, you want to avoid them before going to sleep. I would say for coffee at least, try to avoid coffee at least 8 hours before going to sleep so that your body has time to absorb some of that coffee before you're trying to fall asleep. Because the way coffee works is that it masks the adenosine receptors in your brain, and adenosine is a chemical in your brain that helps you sense that you need to sleep, right? It builds up during the day. That's why you get more and more tired during the day, and by the end of the day you kind of achieve a threshold that pressures you to fall asleep. And coffee masks those receptors, so it feels like you've been awake for 3 hours when in reality you've been awake for 10 hours. So you want to avoid coffee too late in the day. Same for alcohol. Alcohol doesn't work in the same way, right? It's not a stimulant. Alcohol is actually acts as an inhibitor, so it kind of like slows down your brain if you want to see things like that. And taking alcohol too late in the day or too close to your bedtime won't help you get into a REM sleep phase, because REM sleep really requires your whole brain capacity, right? Your brain is highly active. Sometimes parts of your brain are 20 to 30% more active during REM sleep than they are during wakefulness. So alcohol, you want to avoid that as much as possible. And if you drink alcohol, it's better to drink it during the day than at night, but I know it's super hard. And there's also, THC, nicotine. If you want to avoid them altogether, it's better for your sleep, but not doing them every day will definitely improve your sleep. Now I want to talk about light and noise just a little bit. Light, actually blue light signals to your brain that it's daytime, that it should be awake, that it should be alert. So you want to avoid blue light, but I think that you've heard this thousands of times, an hour before bed, as it will help you relax, calm down, and actually fall asleep. But you do want to utilize bright light, bright blue light, or bright light in general when you wake up. Upon waking up, it's very important to expose yourself to bright light so that you can signal to your brain that it's time to wake up, it's time to start your day, it's time to be focused, to be alert. So morning walks are great for that, and they can really help. I've been walking every morning for the last month, and it actually helps me fall asleep faster at night, because it comes back to adenosine building up more rapidly during the day and pressuring yourself to sleep at the end of the day. And noise, actually irregular noise and loud noises won't help you fall asleep. I think that's no secret to anyone. And you might want to use earplugs while falling asleep and while staying asleep, because it will help your brain not think that there is anything to worry about, right? If you hear people screaming, honks, all of those are signals that there's something happening and that you should maybe wake up, or at least not be in such a deep sleep so that you can react if ever something happens to you. Now I just want to talk about some habits that you can take to improve your sleep and your learning. Well, like I said, improving your learning really comes down to improving your sleep. I will make further videos later where I will talk about what learning should look like to be as efficient as possible, to have as much as an impact on you, to help for neuron plasticity. But for now, we'll just focus on having good nights of sleep, right? Having the ability to rest at night long enough. So when it comes to habits, you should try to go to bed at the same time every night, as it will help your internal clock know when you should enter that sleep state, when it should release all of those chemicals that help you fall asleep, the growth hormone, right? It's very important for you to be asleep at the same time, to fall asleep at the same time, because that's when you will internalize things better. That's when everything just works better. Your sleep is better overall. So if you miss your bedtime too much, you won't internalize as much. Having a wind down routine really helps. Trying to relax before going to sleep, because like I said, falling asleep requires all of your vital functions to go down. So your brain activity, not thinking too much before sleep. Something that you can use is a diary, maybe like a worry diary that you can write in before going to sleep. Like I'd say an hour before going to sleep, you can write in it everything that worries you, everything that is yeah, this worrying for you, every problem that you might have, so that you can delegate this and that you can not think about all of your problems, wind down, and actually fall asleep. Also physically relaxing, that helps. So stretching, yoga, I don't know, maybe it's too active, but anything that calms you down. So yeah, sleep is a bi-directional thing. It has a bi-directional effect on your learning. Good sleep will help you learn better, perform better, and actually get in a virtuous circle where you sleep enough and where you perform well. Whereas bad sleep won't help you perform better the night after, and it won't help you internalize things as much. It will actually prevent some of the learning, and it won't help you make the right decisions when it comes to learning and sleeping. So you should really consider this. Like I said, I am not trying to, I didn't say it actually, I'm not trying to give you any order or belittle you. I just want you to have all of the information that you need if you're a language learner and you're trying to optimize your learning and try to succeed in language learning. I think you should know all of this and try to apply as much of what I talked about in this video to have enough sleep. I know some of us have some really tough schedules, very irregular schedules sometimes, but maybe knowing about it will help you go in the right direction, and it will make a little change that will impact more of your learning in your life. So yeah, that's why I made this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something new. I hope that I could challenge some of your beliefs. If you think that anything I said wasn't correct, please tell me in the comment section down below. If you have any point to bring up or any additional information concerning sleep and how it relates to language learning, or if you want to share some of your experience of yours, comment this in the comment section down below. It would be interesting for me to know and for others to know as well. And yeah, this video took a lot of effort on my end for the research, to put it all together, scripting, filming. So consider subscribing, consider turning on the notification bell and liking the video. That would mean the world to me. And yeah, I suck at ending videos actually. So thank you very much for watching. It was Luca. À bientôt.